Welcome to what I hope will be one of the best food experiences you've ever had with a brisket. I'm real proud of my brisket recipe. It's never failed, always perfect. Great reviews, great raves, everybody loves it, and I'll teach you how. Just so you know, this is a 13-year tried and tested procedure, and I'll teach you everything from the refrigerator to the dinner table and everything in between. Think about it. You'll be able to cook a brisket your friends, family, everybody will love, and they'll beg you for another one. They'll call you the brisket guru. Grab a pen and a pad, come on back, let's get started. Okay, now for the ingredients. First thing you're going to need is Claude's brisket marinade. This is the heart of the recipe. Be sure you get the Claude's brisket marinade. Don't use a substitute. Next thing, I like the KC Masterpiece. This is a honey teriyaki. Very, very sweet, good tasting, plus this will also come in handy for that surprise recipe I have for you. Next, liquid smoke. This is mesquite flavored. You can buy any flavor wood liquid smoke you want, but try the mesquite first. And by the way, get a small bottle, this will last you forever. Next, we need some soy sauce. Any brand will work, just make sure you get some soy sauce. And of course, the Worcestershire sauce. Other than that, we have the oven bags. This is turkey size. It's important, you do want a turkey size because size of the brisket we use, any other bag, it won't work. And a little bit of drinking water. Now all this ingredients you can pick up at any of your favorite grocery stores. Not important where you get it, it's important that you got it. So, like I said already, we're going to take you from the refrigerator straight to your kitchen table, your dining room, wherever you like to eat your brisket. Now, before we get started with that, I want to just repeat what I said earlier. I told you that this is going to be one of the best briskets you ever ate. But actually what I said was, this will be the best darn brisket you ever ate, guaranteed, or your money back. That's all I wanted to tell you one more time. I guarantee you, you follow my simple steps, within a matter of moments, we'll have this brisket in the oven, and I promise you, this will be one of the best briskets you ever ate. Everybody will love it. Now, let's get to the refrigerator, we'll get the brisket, and we'll take it from there. Alrighty. This is a brisket. Now, most importantly, you're looking for the largest cut brisket you can find. There's a couple reasons for it. One is, when people find out what you're cooking, you're going to have too many to feed to begin with. Secondly, trust me, you're going to want a big brisket. This is so good, you're going to want leftovers for as long as possible. Also, keep in mind, there's a lot of fat on briskets. Don't be looking for a brisket that's all cut and trimmed and have your butcher cut you a real nice lean piece of meat. That won't work. We need this fat. It's important. And I promise you, the larger, the better. Now, let's get this over to the sink. We'll get it washed up, and I'll show you how simple it is to put it together. Alrighty. Out of the bag, wash both sides, ready to roll. Now, you may want to get some help doing this, but it's going into the bag. You want to make sure that you get it to where you can actually seal the bag up. Let's see here. There we go, that should give me enough room. Okay, a couple of things I want to mention real quick about this. I use a steel pan. There's a reason for it. You can buy aluminum pans over at Walmart, or you can use anything you want, but when it comes time to cut this up, I've been doing this for 13 years, and I still have put aluminum pans with big knife wounds in them, and next thing I know, I've got juice everywhere. So let me recommend you get you a nice, good steel pan, something that you can fit a brisket in, and make this your brisket pan, because I promise you, you'll be cooking a lot of briskets. Okay, let's get it over. We'll mix up some ingredients and get the magic going. All right, so now you've seen the ingredients. Let me show you the recipe. Here's how we do this. First thing we're going to do is take the Claude's brisket marinade. Like to shake it up well. You're going to need a bowl, just about this size would be perfect. Want to pour half the size of the bowl with the Claude's. That should be good right there. Next thing we're going to do is take the honey teriyaki, and I like to get about a third of the bottle in there. Like I said earlier, I'm going to show you what to do with the rest of this stuff, but third, pretty close to a half. You can't overdo it with this, so don't worry about that. Now, you got your soy sauce, 1 tablespoon, and into the mix. Next up, we're going to get a little Worcestershire sauce in it. And here we go. This is tasty stuff. Again, tablespoon. Okay, now, from there, I'm going to caution you. This stuff, liquid smoke, wonderful. Once you crack it open, you can tell by the smell, she's powerful. Most of these has little spritzers on top like this one. My suggestion, just a little bit. Don't overdo it. A couple little squirts. Now, remember, good drinking water. Stay away from the toilet waters. Okay, what I like to do is fill it up the rest of the way with water. Dilute a little bit. Oh, this is going to be perfect. Perfect. Now, simple fork. What I'm doing here is getting the honey, teriyaki, and the stuff from the Claude's all mixed together. And this is the best part right here. Taste it. Oh. Yeah, perfect. In fact, it could use just a tad more. You don't want to put too much of this smoke, so little at a time will do it. Now, if you happen to put too much of that smoke in there, let me suggest find a place to pour this out and start again. Yeah, because you can't fix it if it's got too much smoke in it. Now, from the bowl to the pan, right over the top. There you go. As you can see in the bottom, there's still a little residue, so I'm going to add just a tad more water. Stir it up. Get that in there also. Great. Now, remember the oven bags? Okay. Inside every box is like Cracker Jacks. It's a surprise. You probably have used these before, but I was surprised the first time. There's a little tie strap here, and you need one. So, here's what we do. Okay, we got this all tied together, twist it up, and just put the seal on it right there. There you go. All right, now, here comes another important tip. If you read all this, it tells you to cut 3 slices in the bag so it'll cook right and all that good stuff. Here's my suggestion. My suggestion. 1 knife, 1 hole, about 1 inch. That's it. Let me explain why. I did all that. I put 3 holes in it. And the meat was a little tougher than I like, and it wasn't as tender, and it wasn't as good. But with 1 hole, it really gives it I guess what's happening here is it keeps it steaming inside the bag. All that juice boils up, and I want to tell you, I'm going to say it, best darn brisket you'll ever eat. All right. You know, before I put this in the oven, let's talk about ovens for a minute. We've got to discuss whether it's going to be electric or gas. Now there's a big difference. If you're cooking with a gas, good for you. Much nicer, much easier. I guess the gas is cleaner. However, if you're with an electric stove or oven, like me, you're going to have to do some adjusting. Here's what I did. Thermometer. I went and got a thermometer. They're only $3, $4. Guess what? You can get them at Walmart. However, I put this in the oven, I turned my oven on, and I checked to see what it's actually doing. And here's what we need to do. Gas, you can put it at 200 to 205 degrees. Put this in there, 10 to 12 hours, it's ready. Now, with electric, I like to get them on the thermometer about 215 to 220 degrees. And even with that, this is going to take 12 to 15 hours, so plan accordingly. Alrighty. Put this baby in the oven. Okay. Meet you back here in 10 hours. Okay, we're back. It's been 10 hours. We're going to take a look at the brisket, see how it's doing. I don't expect it to be ready, but at least I can get you to look at it and see how it's progressing. So let's go over to the stove and check on it. Alrighty, let's see what we've got. Ah, it looks wonderful. It looks done. But here's the tester right here. What we do is we get that little slot that we made, and we just put it right in there into some of the meat. Now if you watch that fork right there, see how she springs back? That is not ready. Let's check this side over here. Same thing. Oh, that doesn't look bad. Yeah, there she is. Still a little bit undercooked. So what we're going to do is put this back in. We're going to give it a couple more hours. We'll come and check it again. Thermometer indicating that it's running right at 220, and that's what it says right here, 220. So that's it. We'll see you back in a few hours. All right, I'm back. 14 and a half hours in the oven. I think we're ready to go. What I'm going to do, smells ready. I think we'll go over and check it. Let's go to the oven, get the fork in that, and see what we got. All right, let's see what we've got. Oh yeah, smells wonderful. She looks like she's ready. Let's test it. I'll get this right up here. Get a better view. Okay. All right, remember, we put the fork in right in that meat, twist it. See how that fork just stays there now? Doesn't spring back? Let's try this other side. Oh yeah. She's done. Okay, we'll let it cool for about 20-30 minutes and I'll see you back here and we'll start carving it up. Okay, we're back. Half hour, 45 minutes, it's cool to the touch. I've cut the top of the baggie off of it so you can see what we have. Once again, we've already gone through the test, ready to go. Let me show you a couple of tools that I'm going to use. I like a nice wide fork and a strong spatula. One thing that's imperative, you got to have an electric knife. You try cutting this with just a regular knife, it's going to fall apart on you. You've got to have an electric knife. Now I'm going to get busy in a second, but before I do, I want to explain something to you. This is going to look pretty easy, and don't be disappointed when you start carving your brisket and you realize there's a bit of work involved, because the trick is to get rid of every bit of the fat. Now I'll show you exactly how I do it. I might not have a lot to say. If I do, I'll stop and explain it to you. But in the meanwhile, follow and get a visual on how this is done. It's so much easier to copy somebody after you've seen them than for me to try to explain what I'm doing. So let's get started. By the way, remember I said no aluminum pans? At this point, all of this juice will be dripping off your counter if you use an aluminum pan. That's the reason why. Okay, now at this point, the smaller pieces of the brisket are single layered meat. There's no fat in between. I'll always clean it from the small to the large. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab a piece of meat, put it on the cutting board, and again, you can't do this with a regular knife. I'm just going to get to work. I'm going to take this layer of fat right off the top. Right into the trash can. You can see there's still a little bit more fat right there. I like to get it all off of there. Now, again, I'm just going to explain a little bit, then I'm going to get busy. You see the grain of the meat? How it runs? Well, you can see how it just wants to fall apart on you. It's very important that you cut across the grain. So, little 1/8" pieces. In case I haven't told you, this is the toughest part of the brisket. When we get to the double layered meats, it's going to be so much more tender. But for an example, I don't think I'm going to be able to pick this up with a fork, but you should be able to see this is just literally falling apart. When I say it chews itself, trust me. Okay. Now, ready to do the next one, and this also is just a single piece of meat, but if you look at how quickly and easily the fat just peels right off. Let me take the knife to make it a little cleaner. We'll just get this all cleaned up. I would say, don't be afraid to get a little meat in with the fat, because you're never going to be able to separate it without. Let me just continue. There we go. Now, get the fat, put it in the trash. This one came out just beautiful. All right, now again, striations, cross grain. Little piece of fat right there. Don't need that. Look at how that falls apart. I'm telling you, that just, if I may say it again, it's so tender, it chews itself. Let me get this piece cut up and I'll show you how to do the ones that are double meated. Could you cut this with a knife? No way. You've got to have an electric knife. Let me get this in the bowl. Okay, let's get the next one. Now, here's where it gets a little bit more complicated. Do you see the fat in the middle here? We're going to need to get rid of all that. But how I like to do this, two ways. One, you can just separate it. And then, well, let's do it that way. Let's not complicate it for you. Follow me with this. Not so bad. Once again, cross the grain. And still very tender. Like I said earlier, in time you'll get very good at this and it'll be just very, very swift. Let's look at this piece right here. Here's the problem. There's not a whole lot of meat, but there is meat. We need to cut this off the top, flip it over, and get that off the bottom. Let's give it a shot. Now we'll turn it over and we'll work on the back side. You know, you can see the fat right here. You could leave it like that, but I wouldn't. I'd make sure that every bit of the fat is gone. Because I would want my family and friends to absolutely love it. Let's cut this up. And on to the next piece. I'm going to move to the next one instead of cutting the one that was exactly opposite, because it's exactly the same and it needs to be cut the same way, but I want to show you what to do with these as you get further towards the back side. Now, as you can see, it's somewhat riddled with the fat, so you have to figure out how it goes. In this case, we're going to slice it right here and make two pieces out of it and start cleaning it up. Remember I said not to be afraid to get some meat with the fat. I'd rather have less brisket and no fat than more brisket with fat in it. I don't like the taste. I love the way it tastes this way though. Now here we go. Got that one very well trimmed. I'm going to cut it across grain. One thing you'll notice, the further back you get on the brisket, the more tender the meat is. And again, we got the next piece here. Let's try taking the fat off of it. Okay, now, there's about 3 pieces left. I'm going to grab the very end of it because this is really a unique piece of meat. And if you buy a brisket that has a lot of fat, one side will be really bulky. This is what you'll wind up with, and I'll show you how to trim that. Then I'll do these real quick, and then I'll show you what we're going to do with this juice. Now, on this one, main thing we're trying to do, again, is eliminate the fat. So we'll start with the obvious right up on top. just examine it. Now looky here. You see that? That is fat. So we'll just start trimming. Okay, let me clear some of this out of the way and I'll explain what I'm going to do with that piece of meat. As you can see, the grain runs this way. So I'm going to put it like this and I'm going to cut some nice big wedges. Check this out. There you go. Look at that. Again, just falls apart. So, we'll put that right here. You watch while I cut these other ones and then we'll get down to the juice. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. That looked a whole lot easier than what it's going to be for you, but I've been doing it a long time. When you first rode a bicycle, you weren't pulling wheelies the same day. So don't expect this to just be a cakewalk, but make a bunch of briskets and it'll get easier and easier for you. Now, what I'm going to do here, straggler. And for the finale. Now, this juice in this pan is really valuable to you. So what I suggest we do, and how I like to do it, get the rest of the baggie out. Just drain a minute. and right into the trash can. Now, there are a couple of small tools you're going to need. One of them, of course, is going to be a little bowl like this one. The other, a ladle, a little teapot looking pouring cup, and here we are. Very important, a mesh screen. You know what I'm going to say. Right there at Walmart, $3.50. Okay, here's how it's done. You'll take the juice and you'll pour it through the strainer. Be very careful, you don't want to wear it, but you do want to pour it. Now what this is going to do is get all the fat out of our juice, as you can see. Again, in the pan. And let's put this in the sink. And time for the finale. Okay. Now you can see that the oil and the fat is already settling on the top. This is the reason for this little jewel. Now, this little cup right here, the juices pour out from the bottom. So, when we fill it up with the ladle, what's going to happen here, all the fat is going to separate. And all that great stuff that we put in yesterday, and it simmered in all night for the last 14 hours, is going to come at the bottom. Notice we just pour off a little on top. And now we've got some wonderful stuff. And as good as this tasted when you were carving it, I promise you, you're now going to see night and day. I like to drench this real well. It moistens it. There we go. See how we're back to the fat? I will pour it back in. Get us a little bit more of that prime stuff. Okay, you're going to have to get used to your mouth watering at this point because I know what this tastes like. Here we go. We'll continue drenching this. And actually what I like to do is put enough here to where I see about half the size of the pan with the juice. And the reason for that is this is going to go back in the oven. It's going to get warmed up. And I'm going to serve it nice and hot, and all of this juice is just going to saturate through that meat, and as good as it was, it'll be so much better. Once again, let it settle for a moment. See it rising up, and another batch. Okay, now I can see, I don't know if you can on camera, but the juice about halfway. So that, my friend, is a finished product. We'll cover it with foil, go back in the oven about 200, 225. I'll warm those beans back up. We'll pull some potato salad. And I'll tell you what, I'll meet you at the dinner table, because didn't I say, from the refrigerator to the dinner table.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it is. For sure. Enjoy. I love it.
Okay, people, another success. Let me suggest, cook a brisket, get your raves, enjoy it, and thank you very much. Bon appetit. Hi, Joe again. Remember I promised you a bonus recipe? Well, here we are. What I've got here is some Bush's baked beans, ranch style baked beans. But what I'm going to show you is with just a few ingredients that we used on our brisket, how to spice these up and really make them good. Let me pour the contents in the pan. Actually, I've already put several cans in here. I usually use about 5 of these smaller ones and 2 of these larger ones, the Bush's. Now, that in itself is excellent baked beans, but if you want to continue getting those raves, here's what I recommend. Remember the Claude's brisket marinade? Not too much, just a little bit over the top for a little flavor. Now, I told you about the honey teriyaki. This stuff is still wonderful, so what we're going to do, we're going to pour a generous helping right in there. About another third of the bottle, as a matter of fact. Now, here's a couple of other secret ingredients. This liquid smoke, same thing as I told you earlier, just a dash. And that's all you need. Now, this is one I've been using for years. A little bit of mustard. And about a tablespoon of some brown sugar. We'll call this a heaping tablespoon of brown sugar. The fact is, we'll call it 2 heaping tablespoons. That's it. We'll put this on the stove. And one thing you need to remember, don't just put it on the stove and walk away. This stuff will burn. You've got to keep stirring it. Bring it to a boil and it's ready. And another thing about these beans, if you heat them up the next day and they stay up, if they make it overnight, usually they're all gone, everybody loves them, but if they make it overnight, they're even better the next day. Let's get it to the stove. All right, take a look in there. You can see the mustard and all the ingredients. We'll just stir this. And the key is to keep stirring it. Now I've got this burner pretty high. I'm going to give it a moment or two, let it warm up, keep an eye on it, keep stirring it. This will take about 15 or 20 minutes. And I'll tell you what, you guys, you do it like this, don't let it sit, don't walk away, don't let them burn. And I'll see you in about 15 or 20 minutes. Show you what the finished product looks like. Oh, there you are. These are ready, about 15 minutes. They're done. They're wonderful. I wish you had smell-o-vision. These are ready to go. Again, remember, constantly stir them. Don't let them stick. If they do, they'll burn, and if they burn, there goes your guru status. They'll love these beans. Be sure to watch them. Thank you, and enjoy.